Hello, my dear students and the rest of the learners. Welcome to this presentation in which we are going to continue with our discussion on the topic operating systems application perspective. This is part 2 of a two-part series of presentations in this topic. My name is MemJM, or you can simply call me Emily Swap. In this presentation, we are going to look at the following. Number 1 is file management using an operating system, with our focus mostly being on Microsoft Windows and some operating system, that is disk operating system commands using the MS-DOS. Under this subheading or subtopic, we shall look at Windows desktop and manipulating files as well as folders. Number 2, we shall look at disk management using an operating system. Let's commence by looking at file management using an operating system. And we are going to commence with Windows desktop. A Windows desktop is the working environment that is displayed on the screen, showing that Windows has been automatically loaded into the main memory and the computer is now ready for use after switching it on. In other words, this is a working environment that is displayed after your Windows operating system has completed the booting process and is ready for you to use. It acts as a platform or the base in which to perform various applications as intended by the user, such as interacting with the CPU and the hard drive, opening software programs, managing files, folders, and directories, creating documents, printing photos, listening to music, amongst other activities. It is called a desktop because it acts as a traditional office desk. Just as you can move things around on a real desk, putting away items in drawers, and adding as well as removing objects, you can do the same on the Windows desktop. There are 3 basic parts or features of a desktop, which are the icons, the taskbar, and the background. The following is an illustration of Windows desktop, with this illustration or this diagram being the screen for Windows 10 desktop. From the desktop, we can see that we have various parts, which are the icons, the background, the taskbar, the start button, the task manager, and the system tray. The start button, the task manager, and the system tray are the 3 main parts of the taskbar, just as you can see from this screen. Let's now look at each of the parts one at a time. We commence with the icons. The icons are graphical representations of commands, and they act as shortcuts to programs, documents, and drives. When I say that they are a graphical representation of commands, what I mean is that instead of you communicating with the operating system by typing commands, as we saw in part 1 of this series, where we saw that for you to communicate with the operating system, you needed to master the various commands for performing various tasks. And then you were required to type each command on the prompt. And then you press enter for the computer to respond. The issue of mastering those commands is eliminated when using the graphical user interface, as we saw, whereby those commands are represented with the use of icons. And therefore, instead of being required to internalize and master and type the commands, you just need to click on an icon, which is a graphical representation of the required command, and then you just click on it, and the operating system gives you the required response. It is for that reason that we say that icon or icons are graphical representations of commands that act as shortcuts to programs, documents, and drives. They are mostly manipulated using a pointing device such as the mouse. Examples of icons that you can find in a computer that makes use of the graphical user interface include My Computer, Recycle Bin, Internet Explorer, My Documents, this PC, amongst others, based on the operating system that you are using, and also based on the icons that the user might have created as shortcuts and placed them on the desktop. And therefore, there is no limited list and specific names for the icons that you can have in your computer or on your desktop, because it depends with the user and what the user wants to have as icons on his or her desktop. The second part is called the taskbar. The taskbar is an horizontal bar that is automatically located across the bottom of the screen and enables the user to easily switch between different programs as well as documents or tasks that are currently running. This means that if you open any program or any window, that program or that window will be listed on the taskbar, especially on the part that I have called the task manager. If several programs or documents are open at the same time, their bottoms appear at the taskbar, or their buttons appear at the taskbar. Therefore, if you want to switch from one program that is running to another, you just need to click on its icon from the task manager and the taskbar. So, just as I have said, there are three main parts of the taskbar, which are the start button, the task manager, and the system tree. So let's look at the start button. This is the leftmost button on the taskbar that the user clicks in order to display the start menu. My dear students and the rest of the learners, I would like to inform you that the list of items that appear as part of the start menu or part of start button will depend on the operating system that you are using. In addition, the arrangement of those items will also depend on the operating system that you are using. And therefore, the list of the items under the start menu will vary from one operating system to another and also based on what the user wants to appear on the start menu. A start menu is therefore a list of choices that appear when you click on the start button. Examples of start menu items include, but not limited to, the following: the shutdown or turn off, log on or log off, run, help or help and support, find or search, settings or control panel, documents or my recent documents, programs, and other or others depending on the type of operating system that you are using. So the following is an example of a start menu, and in this case, I have captured the screen for the Windows XP operating system, but this can also be represented or illustrated using other operating systems, for example, Windows 10, Windows 11, amongst the others, and the arrangement will be different. However, the purpose of displaying this start menu is purely for the purposes of helping you be able to identify what we call the start menu. And remember, I have said that the list of items on this start menu will depend on the operating system that you are using. But whatever list that will appear after you click on your start menu or start button, that can also be represented using different symbols, is what we call the start menu. Whenever the start menu is displayed, if you point on an item from the menu and it generates another list or subset of items, then that list that appears is referred to as program's sidekick menu. In other words, it is not a must that it reads as program sidekick menu. It will depend with what you have clicked. So if, for example, you click on the item that I am calling programs, then that sublist that will appear, as you can see from this screen, will be called programs sidekick menu. If you click, for example, on settings, or you point on settings from the start menu, and then another list of items is displayed based on the settings menu, then that will be called the settings sidekick menu. If you point on documents, for example, and a list of items appear, then that list of items that will appear after you have pointed or clicked on documents, it will be referred to as the documents sidekick menu. And therefore, the name of the sidekick menu will be determined by what you have clicked or pointed in order to get that list. Then we have what we call Microsoft Office sidekick menu. You can see that your sidekick menus will get names depending on what you have pointed to, just as I have said. For example, the Microsoft Office sidekick menu is that list of items that is displayed after you have pointed to the Microsoft Office, just as you can see. And therefore, a sidekick menu can generate another sidekick menu, or an item on a sidekick menu can also generate another sidekick menu. Like from this screen, when you point on the programs, it has generated a program's sidekick menu. As part of that program sidekick menu is another item that is called Microsoft Office. And therefore, when you point on Microsoft Office from the menu, it displays another menu that we are calling the Microsoft Office sidekick menu. The purpose of this information, my dear students and the rest of the learners, is to help you be able to know what we call sidekick menus and how those menus are generated. Some of the uses of the start menu items include, but not limited to, the following. The shutdown or turn off is mostly used for shutting down and restarting a computer. Other uses are setting the computer on standby or hibernation mode. Hibernation is a state whereby everything is saved in the memory on disk, and then the computer turns off, while standby is a state whereby the computer consumes less power in idle mode, but remains available for immediate use. The other item that you can find from the start menu is log on or log off. This item lets the various users switch between their various desktop settings for security purposes. It is a security measure that restricts unauthorized users from accessing computer resources that they are not authorized to access. And therefore, this option allows various users to log in to their various desktops and only be able to access the contents that they have been authorized to access. Once you are through with making use of your desktop or you are through with using your computer, it is always advisable that you log off so that your desktop is logged off, or in other words, your desktop is closed. And therefore, when another person logs in, he or she will be required to log in using his or her own information or details. And therefore, he or she will log on to his or her own desktop, and therefore, one user will not be able to access the resources for another user unless if he or she has shared his or her resources with various users. The other item that you can find from the start menu is the run option, or the run menu, or the run item. Run enables the user to install programs, open files and folders from a storage location, and run programs from removable media without necessarily installing them on the hard disk. Number 4 is help, or help and support. This item, if displayed on the start menu, its purpose is to display detailed information on how to use the operating system and solve some computer-related problems in case the computer fails to function properly. Number 5 is find or search. When you click on this item, you are able to get a dialog box through which you search for a file or a folder in case you forget its name or location. And therefore, the find menu or find command helps you to be able to search for a file or a folder in case you have forgotten its name or its location. Number 6 is settings or a control panel. This provides tools which the user can use to maintain and make changes to the computer setup. Therefore, when you click on settings from the start menu, a settings screen or window will be displayed containing various items that you can click for you to be able to perform various tasks based on your needs. Number 7 is documents or my recent documents. This lists the recently accessed files and can be opened when any of them is clicked. The number of files displayed on this list can be of maximum 15, but this will also vary depending on the operating system that you are using. Number 7 are programs. You may have this item with the name programs, or the list of programs may appear instead of being categorized or grouped under one category and given the name programs. So you can have individual icons or shortcuts for individual programs displayed directly with their names on the start menu. So the programs displays a list of all the programs that are installed in the computer. The programs menu, if it is available, has a solid small arrow, which when pointed to leads to a list of menus that I have already said they are called sidekick menu. And therefore, if any item from the start menu contains a small solid arrow next to its name, that simply means that that option has a list of other items. And when you point on that solid arrow, that other list, which you are calling the sidekick menu, will be displayed. Any program is started or loaded by clicking on its name directly from the submenu or directly from the start menu. Let's now look at the second part of the taskbar, which we call the task manager. This is the band or a plain strip that normally displays buttons of all currently running tasks. The third part of the task bar is called the system tray. This is the rightmost part of the taskbar that has icons of the tasks running in the background and are not displayed on the screen. For example, you normally find the time and the calendar as well as volume control from the system tray. The third part of the desktop is called background. This is the largest section of the desktop that has a certain color, design, or a pattern, which makes the desktop to look attractive. In other words, this is the largest part of your screen. It is on the background that we have the icons, and below the background, that's where we find the taskbar, just as we have seen. So the following is the procedure that you can follow to customize or make changes on the way your desktop looks like. Now, this procedure is for customizing or changing the desktop display properties, especially in Windows 10. Number 1, you right-click on a blank area on the desktop. Then you click on Personalize from the context-sensitive menu that will be displayed. Now, what is a context-sensitive menu? This is the list of items that appear when you right-click or when you click on an item from the desktop. So when you right-click on an empty or blank space on your desktop, that list of items that will appear is what forms what we call the context-sensitive menu. And its name is derived from what you have right-clicked or what you have clicked. Number 3, once you click on Personalize, a screen or a window will appear from where you can click on any of the tabs as you need. Some of those tabs or options that we're going to see from the personalized window screen or window will include background, colors, themes, fonts, lock screen, especially from where you can set the screensaver, amongst the others, depending on the feature that you want to customize. Number 4, you set the appropriate changes or options on the list of options that have been displayed after you click on each of the tabs that I have already mentioned. Number 5, once you are through with your settings, you click on Apply and then OK if those options are available and only where necessary. I'm saying where available and where necessary because it's not all of the options that will give you the apply and then the OK steps. So this is an illustration of one of the screens or windows that are displayed. This window appears when you click on Personalization from the sidekick menu or the context-sensitive menu that I've already mentioned. So when you right-click on an empty space on your desktop in Windows 10, and then you click on Personalize, this is the screen or the window that will appear. From this window, there are a number of things that you can do, just as I have said. You can make settings for your background. You can set your colors as you want. You can set your lock screen, your themes, your fonts, the start menu or the start button settings, as well as the taskbar settings. So these, we call them tabs or list of tasks that you can perform under personalization. If you click on background, for example, it will display the background from where you can choose various backgrounds as you want. Under background, you can see that we have a list of options. Anytime you click on any list of options, you'll be able to see how your desktop will look like or how your background will look like under what I am calling the preview window. So you choose your picture based on how you want your desktop to look like. You also make settings for the fitting that you want. If you want to fill the entire screen, you do that. If you want your picture to appear at the center of your screen, you do the same. And these settings are done under choose a fit. You can also make settings for high contrast. You can synchronize your settings, and you can also seek for help as well as give feedback by clicking on those items on your rightmost corner of the personalization window, as you can see. If you want to make changes for colors, you click on colors. You do the same for lock screen. You can set your themes. Under themes, you can also select the fonts that you want to be applied across your applications or across your windows by clicking on fonts. You can determine how you want your start menu to look like by clicking on start. And then you can also make settings for your taskbar by clicking and making the necessary settings under the taskbar. So how do you set your screensaver in Windows 10? A screensaver is a program that is set to be running automatically after a computer has been idle for a given set period of time. This can be set on the lock screen as follows. You first click on Lock Screen tab under Personalization window, just as I have already explained. Then you click on Screensaver Settings, after which you select the screensaver of your choice and you also adjust its settings. Then when you are through, you click on Apply and then OK. So the following is a screen capture illustrating the process that I've already highlighted on setting your screensaver. So once you have right-clicked on your desktop, and then you click on Personalize, and this personalization settings window appears. Under this personalization, you just need to click on Lock Screen. When you click on Lock Screen, the Lock Screen window, as you can see, will be displayed. From where you click on the screensaver settings that I've already circled. When you click on screensaver settings, a dialog box, or call it screensaver settings window, will appear, as you can see, with the heading screensaver. Under that, you point on the screensaver below that preview window, from where you can choose your screensaver. Like in this case, I've selected Bubbles. And then once you select your screensaver, make its settings or adjust its settings by clicking on Settings tab. And then you click on Preview to see how your screensaver will look like. And wait, set how long your computer should remain idle before the screensaver appears. And then check on whether you want, when you resume display, the log on screen to appear. You can also make the various settings for conservation of power by clicking on Change Power Settings. Once you are through with making your various settings for your screensaver, you click on Apply, and then finally you click on OK, and your screensaver as well as its settings will be implemented. How do you set date and time in Windows 10? In order for you to be able to set the date and time for your computer, just look on your rightmost section of the taskbar below your desktop. Then you right-click on Date and Time icon, and then from the menu, the context-sensitive menu that will appear, click on Adjust Date, stroke time. Then from the Date and Time dialog box or screen that will appear, adjust your date and time accordingly from the displayed settings window, and your time as well as your date will be applied accordingly. In order for you to change your mouse settings in Windows 10, You click on Start button or Start menu, or in other words, from your taskbar on the leftmost side, click on Start button. Then you click on Settings from the Start menu. Once you click on Settings, the Settings window will appear on your screen from where you click on Devices icon, or you can call it the Devices tab. Once you click on Devices, another screen or window will appear from where you look for Mouse. Then you click on Mouse, and from there you make the necessary changes and you close the Settings window once you are done. Let's now look at what you do to manipulate files and folders using your Windows operating system. To manipulate and manage files and folders, you can use any of the following two tools or utilities. That is Windows Explorer, called File Explorer in Windows 10, or My Computer, which is also called this PC icon for Windows 10. How do you use the File Explorer or Windows Explorer if it is available? So Windows Explorer or File Explorer is a utility program that lets the user display the drives, files, and folders in a hierarchical or tree structure. A computer tree is an upside down structure of folders with the highest level being the root. Windows Explorer, or what we call the File Explorer, is normally found under Program's sidekick menu if that menu is available from the Start icon or from the Start menu or Start button. If Programs is available from the Start menu, you point on it, and then from the sidekick menu that will be displayed, you move up to Accessories for Windows. Then under Accessories for Windows, you'll be able to find the File Explorer. So this is how the files and the folders are normally organized in Windows. So we can see that the files and the folders and subfolders are organized in form of a computer tree. This computer tree can either be vertical or diagonal or horizontal based on how you want your screen to appear. But simply, what is important here, because this the image will depend on the Windows that you are using, what is important is to note that in a storage medium, for example, the hard disk, which in this case, I'm calling it local disk C, you create directories, and inside those directories, you create subdirectories or subfolders into which you place files. So when you traverse from the root directory, which is C:, then you move on to the respective directory, for example, shared music, and then you move on into a specific subdirectory or folder like sample music, from where you are able to access the two files displayed on my screen, that is Beethoven's Symphony No. 9 and New Stories. Then that arrangement is what I am calling a computer tree. And from the address menu on top there, as you can see where I have the name address, this structure or this tree is already displayed there, which we normally call the path name for your file. And you can see we are moving from C colon. I'm reading from the address bar. You can see we have C colon backslash documents and settings backslash or users backslash documents backslash my music backslash sample music. So that's a tree. That's what we call a computer tree. So a computer tree has what we call the left-hand pane. Why? This is because the subdirectories and subdirectories or subfolders are displayed on the left of the item that you have clicked. So if you open, for example, a folder called sample music, the items inside it will be displayed on its left. That's why we are calling it the left-hand pane. And then we also have, based on the windows you are using, the right-hand pane. So sometimes the items on your screen or on a window may be displayed with the contents being on the right-hand side. And when you click on any item on the left-hand side, it generates or displays items on its left or on its right-hand pane. Like in this case, when you click on sample music from the left-hand pane, the contents and the sample music are displayed on its right-hand pane. And that's where we have the two files, which are for music, where one is Beethoven's Symphony No. 9 or Scherzo, and New Stories, Highway Blues by Maxius, as you can see. To display the windows of File Explorer, number one, you click on Start button, and then you point it to Programs if this menu is available, and then you click on Windows or File Explorer from that sidekick menu. However, this menu may not be available in some Windows, for example, in Windows 10. So for Windows 10, what you do is you can double click on File Explorer icon if it's available from the desktop. But if that icon is not available, you click on Search icon, which is just next to Start button on the taskbar. When you click on Search button, you type File Explorer. And once you type File Explorer, from the list that will appear, you click on File Explorer. Once you click on File Explorer, the File Explorer will consist of two panes, the left-hand pane and the right-hand pane. The left-hand pane normally displays the location, the device or folder where the data files are stored, while the right-hand side pane displays files or further folders within that location. On the left-hand pane, if a device or a folder is displayed with a plus sign in front of it, that means that the folder or device contains other files or folders which are not displayed, while the negative sign will indicate that all the files and the folders are already displayed. Let's now look at My Computer icon, which we also call this PC in Windows 10. This is a shortcut icon that is usually found on the desktop, which enables a computer user to be able to explore the files and folders found in various storage locations, such as in hard disks, abbreviated as C:, in floppy disks. Of course, these ones are outdated these days, but they were abbreviated as A:, in optical disks, for example, CDs, which we abbreviate or were known by the operating systems as D:, as well as in other storage mediums or media. To display the My Computer window or this PC window, you can right-click on My Computer icon from the desktop or this PC icon from desktop, and then you point and click on Open or Explore from the shortcut menu that will be displayed. When the Windows Explorer or the My Computer window or PC, this PC window is displayed, one can manage and manipulate the files and folders by creating, opening, editing, renaming, finding or searching, sorting, copying, moving, and even deleting files and folders. The following diagram illustrates my computer window, and this is specifically in Windows XP. Remember, my dear students and the rest of the learners, that these screens, in as much as they contain the same content, their shapes or their designs or their appearance will depend on the operating system that you are using, but all of them have certain common features or similarities. Those icons that are in yellow color, like shared documents and admin's documents, those are folders. You can see we are able to identify files stored on this computer. Then we have the disk drives that are available. And in this computer, from where I captured this screen, we had a single hard disk drive, which is C:. Below it, you can see that we have devices with removable storage. And in this computer, we can see that it had a single disk drive for portable devices, and this is for the DVD or CD rewritable drives. Then we have others like Needle Scout, My Blue Places, amongst others that are indicated as icons, which you click to directly access a certain information. This is an example of how the same screen we have looked at would appear in Windows 10. So in Windows 10, when you click on this PC or you double click on this PC icon, you are going to be able to see the following. As you can see, the heading for this window is this PC. And then, just as we have seen for the window for Windows XP, we can still see that the same applies here, but the arrangement of the organization or the appearance is different. So in this case, we can see that we have 7 folders, but the color is the same as you have seen for Windows XP. Examples of such folders are 3D objects, desktop, documents, downloads, music, pictures, videos. And then we have devices and drives. In this computer, which is the computer that I am using for this presentation, we can see that we have one hard disk drive or one partition, which I have given the name MLSwap, and that is hard disk C:. Then we have another one, which is Google Drive. This is removable. Why am I saying it is removable? It is because I can easily delete it from my machine. And then we have a DVD rewritable drive, which has been assigned the drive letter F:. The Google Drive has been assigned G:. From my part 1 of this presentation, which is accessible from MLSwap ICT YouTube channel, I explained on the meaning of various drive letters. And as I said, that the operating systems normally identifies various storage locations with the use of the respective drive letters. And in this case, because you have a single hard disk drive or partition, it is assigned C colon. Then there's provision for other partitions in case I want, from D, E, and then the optical drives for DVD, in this case, it has been assigned F colon. And then we have Google Drive G. You can see that we don't have any A drive because this computer or the modern computers do not have provisions for the floppy disk drives. So how do you create a new file or folder in your storage medium? To create a new file or folder using Windows operating system, for example, in Windows 10, you just need to open the location or storage media where you want your file or folder to be stored by just right-clicking on it and clicking open. And then you right-click on work area or an empty space on your storage location. From the sidekick menu that will be displayed, you point to new. Once you point to new, you then choose or click on folder if you want to create a new folder, or you click on the type of file that you want to create. For example, Microsoft Word document. Then you type the name for your folder or the name for your file, and once you are through with naming your file or your folder, you press the Enter key from your keyboard. So this is an illustration of how you do it. So if, for example, you want to create a new file or folder in my storage media, which is the hard disk, under the folder called MNP materials, what you need to do is you open MNP materials folder. Once you are there, you right-click on an empty space. Once you right-click on the empty space, you will see this menu, which I called the context-sensitive menu. So from this sensitive menu, you look for new, because you are creating a new file or a new folder. So if you want to create a new folder, after you point on new, then from the new sidekick menu, you click on folder, which is the first item there. But if you want to create a file, for example, Microsoft Access file, Microsoft Word file, Google Docs, etc., you click on the one that you're interested with. For example, Microsoft Word document. And once you do that, then that item you have selected will have its icon appear on the area where you are right-clicked or on the empty space on your storage location, and then you type its name. And once you are already typing the name, you press on Enter key. What about if you want to create a new file in Microsoft Disk Operating System? In this case, what you do is you type the following on the command prompt. So the command prompt will be C:\\. So once that command prompt appear, type the command edit followed with a space and then the name of the file that you are creating, which is file name. For example, if you want to create a file in DOS called English, which is a document file, what you do is on the command prompt C:\\, type the command edit followed with a space, then the name of the file, which is English, and then its extension for identification purposes, which is .doc. If you don't know, my dear student and the rest of the learners, what this file name means, kindly go to MLSwap ICT YouTube channel and make sure that you go through the operating systems application perspective part 1 of 2 series, and you will be able to understand more. Or you can type, for example, if you want a document, a text document called meme, then you can type C:\. In fact, you don't type the prompt because the prompt will be there. So under the C:\\, prompt area, type the command edit followed by a space, then the name of the file and its extension, which is meme.txt, and then you press enter. After you do that, a screen will appear in which you type your text. To create a new folder in MS-DOS, other than creating a file, what you do is you type the command md space the name of your directory. For example, under the command prompt C:\, you type md space cats. There is no full stop. It is just md space the name of the directory you are creating. For example, in this case, I am creating a directory called cats. So what I'll do is I'll type md space cats. For you to know how to access the command prompt for a command-driven operating system, just I have said, kindly listen to my part 1 series of this topic on operating systems application perspective. To create a subdirectory in cats directory, like called form1, what you do is once you have created your directory called the cats, you open that directory and then you create your subdirectory into it. How do you do that? You do that by typing on the command prompt, you type C:\, cats /md space form1. Let's now look at how you open a file or a folder or a drive. Depending on what you want to open, just right-click on its icon, and then you click on Open Command from the context-sensitive menu that will appear. So if, for example, you want to open a file, just right-click on that file's icon, and then from the context-sensitive menu that will be displayed, click on Open. The other way is you click on the items icon, and then you look for File menu from the top of your screen or window if it's available. You click on File menu, and then under that menu, you click on Open Command. You can also open a file, a folder, or a directory by simply double-clicking on its icon. So this is an example of what I am calling the context-sensitive menu. Like in this case, if you have a file called form3 term 22007 results, and you want to open it, you just right-click on that icon, and then you are going to see a context-sensitive menu with commands like open, new, print, etc. So because you are opening, you click on open. If you want to show the contents of a drive or a folder in this operating system mode, you just type on the command prompt dir. Once you have changed the drive or folder to the current directory, in other words, if you want to display the contents of a directory or a subdirectory in DOS, what you do is you change directory to the directory or subdirectory whose contents you want to display. While you are there, you type dir command and you press enter. This information, my dear students and the rest of the learners, is accessible from my part 1 of part 2, or from my part 1 of the 2-part series in this topic. To open a file in DOS mode, you write the command edit, followed by the file name. For example, if you want to make changes in a file called meme, which is a document file, while you are in the directory or subdirectory that contains this file, on the command prompt, type edit space meme.doc. But if the file called meme is located in a directory called the cats, what you need to do is you include the path for that file on the command. So in this case, you type on the command prompt :/, you type cats / edit command space meme.doc. So edit is the command which is used for editing files or opening a file. Open a file for a document or a program, or once a file for a document or a program is opened, an application window appears on the screen. So the following are normally the parts of an application window in graphical user interface operating systems like Windows 10 and others. So every window or most of the windows have various parts. We have, like in this case, we have part A all the way to part I. My dear students, do you know the names for each of these parts of this window? From this window, you can see this window is for English Cat 1, and it's a Microsoft Word document window. So every window will always be identified by its name, which normally appears in the part I have labeled as A. So what are those parts? You have 1 minute to identify them. That is A, A1, A2, A3, B, B, C1, C2, D, E, F, G, H, I. So what are the names? So the first one is title bar. So on the title bar, we have the name of the window that is open. Then just next to it, we have that line of items: file, edit, view, insert, format, tools, table, window, help, amongst others. That bar is called menu bar. Below the menu bar, we shall have icons that represent the commands, instead of having those commands written with the names. So this bar is called the standard toolbar if it contains icons for the normal or standard commands like open, new, save, amongst others. But if the bar contains special icons for purposes of handling text in a document, like changing its color, broadening it, underlining it, etc., then we call that the formatting toolbar. It's not a must that every window contains the two toolbars. It will depend with the function of the window that is open. Then on the top right-hand corner of the screen, we have 3 buttons there. The first one is minimize button. The second one there is called maximize button. And then we have the close button. Then on the screen itself, on the window, at the center of the window, we have what we call the insertion point or cursor. It's normally a blinking symbol or a sign, which once you start typing, the text will be displayed or the characters will be displayed on where the character or that cursor is blinking from. And then we have a ruler. That large section or center section of the window is normally called the work area. Then we have the scroll bar, the scroll buttons, and the arrows. And we also have at the bottom there, the status bar. So what is the purpose or function of each of these parts? You have 1 minute to just think about the functions of each of these parts and identify them before I can give you the exact functions of each of these parts. So let's now explain the purpose or function of each of these parts of a window. Remember, my dear students and the rest of the learners, that it's not a must that every window contains all these parts. It will depend with the window that you are using, but that window will have at least several of these parts. So the first one is the title bar, which I have labeled as part A in the first diagram, while in the second, I have given it the title bar. This is the bar across the top of the window that displays the name of the current application or task. So every window that you open will have its name on the title bar. On the right of the title bar, we have the following 3 tiny buttons as we have seen. The first one is minimize button. When you click on the minimize button, it will reduce the window that is open to a button which is placed on the taskbar. To display the contents of a minimized window, you just click on its icon or on its button from the task manager part of the task bar. The other button is restore or maximize button. The purpose of this button, when clicked, is to stretch the window in order to cover the entire desktop or restore it to its original size when clicked. The other button is called the close button. This button is used to exit from an application when you click it. So if you are through and you have saved all your changes on whatever document you are working on, or whenever you are through with making use of any application, you just click on the close button to exit from that application or from that window. The other part is the menu bar. The menu bar is that bar which provides a drop-down list of commands that can be used to manipulate a task. Just as we have seen, from the menu bar, we can have several items available, but it's not a must that all of them are available on every menu bar for every window. So some of these include File, Edit, View, Insert, Format, Table, Help, amongst others. The next one is the toolbars. These are the bars that contain various buttons or icons that are arranged in a row that are shortcuts to menu commands. In other words, the icons on the toolbar normally replace the names themselves, as we have seen on the menu bar. So you can have an icon on the toolbar that represents a file, that represents a table, etc. So some of the toolbars include, number one, the standard toolbar, or simply there are two main types of toolbars. One of them is the standard toolbar. This toolbar, just as we have seen, contains buttons that are shortcuts for many common word commands that can be accessed from the menu bar. The second type of toolbar is called the formatting toolbar. This toolbar contains buttons that are shortcuts for formatting a document. Another part of the window is called the insertion point or cursor, though this one is mostly available on windows or screens that are for applications used to do something. For example, if you start Microsoft Word program and you want to create a document, from that document's window, we are going to have an insertion point or a cursor. So this is a flashing vertical line or a symbol that indicates where text and graphics will appear when typed. The insertion point or cursor is normally found on what we call the work area. In other words, even those windows that do not involve anything to do with the typing, they also have the largest inner section, and that largest inner section where various other items or icons are displayed is called the work area. So work area is the largest section of an open window where you create your documents or enter your data. The other part of a window is the scroll bar. This is normally available on windows in which we display various or several items that can fill the screen. So in this case, the scroll bar is the horizontal and the vertical bars that are found on the borders of a window that the user drags in order to view different areas of the active document or be able to access or see various items that have been displayed on the various sections of the work area. Scrolling is the process of moving up, down, right, or left of a document window on the screen if it is too large for all its contents to be fully displayed. The other part is scroll buttons and arrows. The scroll buttons and arrows are horizontal and vertical buttons at the borders of a window that are used to scroll through long documents. The other part of a window is called the ruler. This part is not also found in all the windows. It is mostly found on windows that involve the organization or arrangements or drawings or typing of text or other items on the window. So ruler is mostly found on the windows for applications which are involved in creation of a document or a file. So it is used to help the user position text or objects in the right position. They are both vertical and horizontal. The other part is called the status bar. This is an interactive strip at the bottom of the screen that acts as a communication link between the user and the program. It displays information about the active document. Let's now look at how you edit a file. Once a file is open and has certain text, you can make various changes to the existing text by deleting text using the delete and backspace key, insert new text and type over text using the insert key, as well as copy and remove text. In order to delete text, you simply select that text by clicking at the starting point of the text that you want to delete, and then you drag the mouse over it up to the end, and then you press delete key from your keyboard. But if you want to delete a single character of a word at a time, from its right side, you click on the right of that word that you want to delete, then you press backspace key. But to delete a single character of a word at a time from its left side, you click on the left of that word, and then you press delete key continuously until all the characters are erased. In order to insert missing characters between an existing text, click at the position where you want the text to be added and then type the new text. But if you want the new text, you want to type to replace the existing text, that is what we call the overtype mode, switch to overtype mode by pressing the insert or ins key on the keyboard. And once you see OVR, that is over, highlighted on the status bar, then proceed and type your new text. How do you save changes to a file? After typing the contents or making changes, that is editing a file, you can save the changes that you have made by clicking on File menu, which is normally found on top of your window on the menu bar. And then you click on Save As. Then select where the document or file will be stored and type its name. Once you are through, you click on Save button on the Save As window. But if a file that you have edited was already saved in a storage medium and you don't want to save it with a different name or location, just click on File menu, then click on Save command. How do you view files and directories? To view the contents of a drive or a folder or a subfolder, right-click on its icon and then click on Open or Explore if it's available from its context-sensitive menu. However, to view the files or folders in a drive in this operating system, just as I said in part 1 of the 2-part series of videos in this presentation, you type the command dir while inside the directory or subdirectory whose contents you want to display. So in this case, if you want to view the contents of the folder called the cards that is stored on a storage media, which is the hard disk, you type it as c:/cards/dir. So this command is typed at the DOS prompt outside of the directory. So that means this command is being typed at the root directory. This is because if you are in the current directory whose content you want to display, you don't type the entire path, but what you do is you just type the command dir. How do you change directories or folders? To change directories or folders in Windows, right-click on the icon for the drive, that is the storage medium, and then click on Explore if it's available, or just click on Open. To change from one folder to another, select the folder that you want to change it to by clicking on its icon from the left hand pane of the Windows or File Explorer. However, if you want to change directories in this operating system, you type the command as follows. For example, if you want to move from cards and you go to a subdirectory called form1, you just type like C:, that is at the DOS prompt, type cd cards/form1. In other words, you are requesting the operating system to change directory from cards to the subdirectory called form1. To go back one level in a long path, in other words, if you want to go backwards, in other words, if you're in a subdirectory and want to access the directory or subdirectory that contains the directory or subdirectory that you're working in, I repeat, if you are, for example, in a subdirectory called form1 and you want to go back or backwards and access the directory or subdirectory called the cards in which form1 is based, then when you are in the current directory or subdirectory like form1, you type cd ... This tells the operating system to move one step backwards in the structure or in the path that you are currently in. That means even form1, cd ... will take you back to the cards directory. But if you want to change or to move from the current directory, like form1, or current subdirectory, like form1, and be taken back to the prompt, which we call the root, you simply type from wherever you are, you type the command cd \, and that command, once you press enter, it will take you directly to the root directory, which is the storage medium, like C:. Renaming files and folders. To change the current name of a file or folder to another name, you just right-click on its icon, then you click on rename. After that, you type the new name and you press the enter key. However, if you want to change the name of a file or folder in disk operating system, you type the command as follows. At the C or at the command prompt, that is C:\\, type the command rename space, followed by the name of the old file, that is the name that we wanted to change, then space, the name of the proposed new name. In other words, you type the command rename space, type the name of the file or folder that you want to change from, space, the new name that you want to give. For example, if you have a file called meme, which is a document file, and want to change its name to exam, then what you do is you go to the folder that contains the file meme, and then you rename from there. For example, if the file called meme is in a directory called cats, then you can rename it from the root as follows. So while you are at the command prompt, that is C:\, type cats \rename command space, the old name, which is meme.doc space, the new name that you want to give to the file, that is exam.doc. Remember that space is very important in disk operating system. And therefore, rename is the command that is used. So the format of renaming, the format of the commands for renaming files in DOS is rename space old file name space new file name. How do you copy a file or a folder? To create a duplicate of a file or a folder so as to store it in a different location, right-click on its icon, then click on the copy command. Then select the drive or folder in which you want to place the duplicate by right-clicking on that drive or folder, and from the context-sensitive menu that will be displayed, you click on the paste. To copy a file or a folder using disk operating system, for example, a file called meme that is stored in a folder called cats in a hard disk to a folder in a floppy drive or a floppy disk called the exams, you type the command as follows. Copy space, the full path for the file that you want to copy, that is C:\cats\meme.doc space, then the destination where you want the copied file to be taken, that is A:\exams. So C:\cats is the current location of the file that you want to copy, while A:\exams is the folder or directory in which you want the duplicate file to be taken. So this means the command to copy is written as, for example, C:\, that is the command prompt. At the command prompt, you type copy, then source file. And when I talk about source file, is the entire path for that file, space, destination file, that is the full path for the new location for your file, stored in a folder called cats in a hard disk to a folder in a floppy disk. So the source file is in the hard disk, but the destination file will be kept in a floppy disk. How do you move a file or a folder? To remove a current file or a folder from its current location and store it in a different location, open the drive or folder in which it is located, then right-click on its icon and click on cut command. Then open the destination drive or folder, right-click inside that window and click on the paste command. But to move a folder or a file in this operating system, you write the command move followed by source file destination or followed by source file, then destination file. For example, if you want to move the subfolder called form1 that is stored in a drive folder called the cards in the hard disk to a folder called exams in the floppy disk, you write the command as move. So move what? Move space C:\cards form1 space A:\exams. This simply means that you are moving the folder called form1 that is stored in a directory called the cards in a hard disk to a folder called exams that is found in the floppy disk. How do you delete a file or a folder? Deleting is the process of erasing the files or folders that you don't need from a storage medium. Note that you should never delete system or application files or any file or folder whose purpose you don't know, because this might interfere with the functioning of the computer. Therefore, you should only delete files and folders whose purpose you know and which you know that you will not need again. To delete a file or a folder, just right-click on its icon, then click on delete command. If a prompt message is displayed requesting you to confirm that you want to delete the file or a folder, click on yes. If you want to delete a file in DOS mode, you write the command del space file name. For example, if you want to delete a text document file called meme that is located on the root directory, which is the hard disk, just type at the command prompt C:\sign del space meme.txt. But if you want to delete an empty directory in this operating system, you write the command rd space directory name. For example, if you have an empty directory in the hard disk called meme that you want to delete or remove, well, at the command prompt C:\sign, type rd meme, that is rd space meme, and then you press the enter key. Always remember, whenever you type any command in a command-driven operating system at the command prompt, you must always press the enter key for the command to be processed. How do you restore deleted files and folders? When you delete files or folders from the hard disk, they are stored in a special folder called recycle bin. A recycle bin is therefore a temporary holding place for files and directories that you no longer need and have been deleted. These files or folders stored in the recycle bin folder are not removed from the hard disk and can be retrieved back to their original locations. To retrieve these deleted files and folders, you just right-click on the recycle bin icon from the desktop, and then you click on Open command. Then you right-click on the icon for the item that you want to be restored from the recycle bin, and then you click on Restore command. However, in the case you realize that you will never need the deleted files, you can empty the recycle bin by double-clicking on the recycle bin icon and then clicking on Empty recycle bin icon. Files or folders that are deleted from the removable storage devices or from the disk operating system command do not go to the recycle bin, and therefore they are deleted permanently. That's why you must be very careful when deleting files or directories, because you may not be able to retrieve back some of them. How do you sort the files or folders in a storage medium? Sorting is the process of arranging files and folders in a particular order, either alphabetically or by size or by date of creation or modification. To arrange the files or folders in a certain order, open a folder or a storage location that has those files and folders, then right-click on an empty space in the window, point on Sort By command, and then click on the sorting options as required. How do you find or search for files or folders? Finding or searching is the process of finding out where a certain file or folder is stored and then retrieving it easily. It is also very helpful in situations whereby you don't properly remember the full name of the file or folder that you used when you saved or created a file or a folder. To search for a file or a folder in Windows 10, you click on search icon that is located just next to Start button in the taskbar. And then once that is done, you type the name of the file or folder that you wanted to find, and you press Enter key from your keyboard. If you don't remember the full name of the file or folder, you can use special symbols that we call wildcards in your search. For example, you can use question mark to replace a single character, like mem question mark. And you can use asterisk to replace a set of characters. Like if you just remember that the name was commencing with the letter M, but you don't remember the rest of the name or the rest of the characters, just type M followed by an asterisk and you press Enter. When you do that, all the names of files and folders that begin with letter M will all be displayed on the screen. But if you type mem question mark, what that will do, or that one card will do, it will just look for all the names that read that is M-E-M, followed by a single character, which you don't remember. For example, meme, memi, memo, memp, etc. So question mark replaces a single character in your name or in the file you are looking for, while asterisk replaces a set of characters. How do you select files and folders? Selecting an object is very important if you want to perform any action on it. The following are some methods you can use to select the files, folders, and other objects. Number one, if you want to select a single object, just click on it. If you want to select several items in the order that they are arranged, press Shift key on your keyboard. And then while you are pressing Shift key, click on the first and the last item on the list of your selection, and then release the Shift key. But if you want to select only some specific items from a list while leaving others on that list, press down Control key on your keyboard and then click on each item that you want to select, and then release the Control key. If you want to select all the items displayed in an open window, you just need to press Control key on your keyboard, followed by character A. So while you are pressing down Control key, you press down A, and then you release both of the keys. How do you drag and drop? This is an easy method of manipulating files and folders. How do you do it? To copy a file or a folder, hold down the Control key while you drag the icon of the file to a new location. If you want to move files from one location to another on the same drive, but in a different folder, simply press down the mouse button on the items icon and drag the item to the new location, and then you release your mouse button. If you want to delete any file or a folder, just drag it into the recycle bin. If you want to copy a file or a folder from one disk to another, simply drag the file or folder that you want to copy from the current destination, or from the current folder, or from the current disk to the destination's drive's icon. If you want to move an item, just hold down the Shift key while you drag it to the new location. How do you arrange multiple application windows on the desktop? So if you have several windows open on your desktop and you want to arrange them or organize them so that you can work across or with several of them, what you just need to do is to arrange them either side by side or one on top of the other. So let's look at what we call or we refer to as tiling windows. This is arranging windows side by side, either horizontally or vertically. How do you tile horizontally, or what is tiling horizontally? This is arranging the running programs one below the other. The program in focus will have its title bar highlighted. To switch to another program, you simply click on its title bar. To tile windows horizontally, you just right-click on the taskbar, then click on Tile Windows horizontally or Show Windows stacked. So this is an example of how to tile windows horizontally. You can see that we have several windows open. One of them is Microsoft PowerPoint operating systems, and we have another one called Lessons. You can also tile windows vertically. Applications in this case are arranged down the screen, but side by side. So if you want to tile windows vertically, right-click the taskbar and then click on Tile Windows Vertically or Show Windows Side by Side. The vertically tiled windows will look as follows. So you can still see our two windows for PowerPoint and for Lessons have now been tiled vertically, side by side. And their names are displayed on the taskbar, on the section that we call the Task Manager. So we can see we have Lessons, we have Microsoft PowerPoint. If you want to undo tiling, you just click on Undo Tile from the shortcut menu. So you right-click on the taskbar, and then you click on Undo Tile. What about cascading windows? Each window is placed on top of each other with the active program being in front. To cascade, right-click the taskbar and click on Cascade Windows. To undo cascade, right-click the taskbar and then click on Undo Cascade or Windows from the shortcut menu. This is what I am referring to as cascading windows. We can see our two windows still, Microsoft PowerPoint and Lessons. So Lessons is in front, while Microsoft PowerPoint is behind it. Let's now look at disk management using an operating system. Disk management tools are the utilities that help the user to manage storage devices and media. Some of the disk management tools include disk formatting, disk defragmentation, virus checks, maintenance wizard, disk partitioning, disk compression, disk backup, startup. If you realize that your storage media is filled up or the speed of accessing files and folders is very slow, the following are some methods that you can use to create more space or more free space on the media and increase the speed of data processing. Number one is compressing the storage media. Number two is emptying the recycle bin. Number three is deleting files or folders that you no longer need. Number four is scanning the storage media for errors. Number five is performing disk cleanup. And number six is defragmenting the disk. Let's start by looking at formatting of disks. Formatting is the process of preparing a new disk for use by imprinting empty sectors and tracks on the surface of the disk so that the operating system can recognize and be able to access it. Note, you should never format a storage medium that has data or information unless you are sure that you will never again require the contents in it, because once you format it, you can never retrieve the previous data again. So it's always good to check the contents of an old disk before you format it. The following is the procedure of formatting a storage medium. Number one, you insert the storage medium into its drive, and then you double click on my computer icon or this PC icon. From there, you right click on the icon for the media to be formatted. For example, A:, C:, D:, E:, F:, etc. Then from the context sidekick menu or context sensitive menu that will be displayed, click on Format command. Select the medium's capacity from the dialog box or window that will be displayed. And then choose the format type. For example, quick erase or full format. Give the storage media an internal name. That is what we call a label. And then click on Start button on that window in order to begin formatting. And then once formatting is complete, you click on the Close button for the formatting window. To format a storage medium in DOS, you type the command format followed by the drive letter. For example, if you have a floppy disk that you want to format, which is drive A or which is in drive A, or you have a flash which you want to format, which is in drive E, or which is in drive E, while at the command prompt, which is C:, sign, that is command prompt, which is C:, sign, type the command format, then have a space, then the drive letter for the media that you want to format. If it is A, write format space A:, and press enter. If it is a flash disk, which is drive E or is in drive E, type the command format space E:, Then you press the Enter key. When you format a disk, the operating system erases all bookkeeping information on the disk, tests the disk to make sure that all the sectors are reliable, marks bad sectors, and creates internal address tables that it later uses to locate the information. Number 2 is partitioning disk. This is the process of dividing a large physical disk into 2 or more partitions, which we call logical drives. A logical drive is a drive that can be accessed as if it is a separate disk, yet it's the same large physical disk. It is done when the user intends to install more than one operating system on the same disk, or for purposes of backing up on the same disk for security in case one partition fails. Before partitioning a disk, you need to decide how the files will be stored in each partition, either as FAT, that is file allocation table, FAT32, or NTFS, amongst the others. The following is the procedure of partitioning a storage medium. Number 1, insert a bootable or startup system disk into the drive. For example, a floppy disk into the floppy disk drive, which is bootable. Then switch on the computer and let it boot from that drive. For example, A:\sign prompt, that is floppy disk prompt. Then type fdisk command at the prompt and press Enter key. Press Y and choose one, that is create DOS partition or logical DOS drive. Then from the submenu that will be displayed, choose option 1, which is to create primary DOS partition that will be treated as the bootable disk, or drive C, or choose option 2 to create extended, that is other DOS partitions, or option 3 to give you extended DOS partitions drive labels. Once you finish partitioning the disk, reboot the computer for the changes to be effected, and then you format the drives that you have created. Number 3 is disk defragmentation. A disk defragmenter is a utility that consolidates fragmented files and folders on one disk so that each occupies a single contiguous space on the volume. Defragmentation is rearranging scattered folders and files on a storage media in order to speed up access to files and folders. Fragmentation is the condition of a disk in which files are divided into pieces scattered around the disk. Fragmentation occurs naturally when you use a disk frequently, therefore creating, deleting, and modifying files. Fragmented files slows down the speed at which data is accessed before the disk drives read-write hand, waste time looking for the same item all over the disk to put its parts together in order to form a single file. Disk defragmentation, therefore, consolidates the volume's free space, making it less likely that new files will be fragmented, and the system gains access to your files and folders and save new ones more efficiently. The following is the procedure of defragmenting a disk. Number 1, right-click a drive's icon and click on Properties from the context-sensitive menu. Number 2, click on Tools tab. Then click on Optimize and Defragment Now button, and then click on Optimize for the required drive from the dialog box that will be displayed. Wait for the process to complete, and then you close the defragmenter window and click on close when done. In order to defragment a disk in disk operating system, type the command defrag followed by the drive that you are defragmenting. For example, C:\sign, or in other words, at the command prompt, type defrag space A:. In other words, type defrag followed by a space and the disk drive that you want to defragment, or the disk media that you want to defragment. If, for example, it is floppy disk, then type defrag space A:. If it is the hard disk, which is C:, type defrag space C:. If it's a flash disk, which is drive E, or is in drive E, type defrag space E:, and you press enter. Let's now look at disk diagnostics on disk compression. This is a utility program that reduces the size of files so as to fit in a smaller space, therefore helping create more free space on the media and helping decompress the file when needed by the operating system. Whenever the operating system attempts to save a file to disk, the disk compression utility intercepts it and compresses it. And when the operating system attempts to open that file, the utility intercepts the file, decompresses it, and then passes it to the operating system. The two main tools that are used for compression in Windows are the compression agent and the drive space. Drive space can use the free space on an uncompressed drive to create a new empty compressed drive that is called a host. The following is the procedure of compressing a drive. Right-click on its icon, and then from the context-sensitive menu that will be displayed, click on Properties. Then click on either General tab, then Compress Drive button, or just click on Compress Drive to save disk space checkbox and click OK. In Confirm Attribute Changes, select the option that you want. You can also purchase third-party disk compression utilities for Windows and other operating systems. Disk cleanup. This utility helps free space on your disk by searching for all the contents that are for temporary files and other unnecessary files that can be cleaned or removed from the computer without affecting its operation. The following is a procedure that you can follow in order to perform disk cleanup. Number one, right-click on its icon and then click on the Properties from the context-sensitive menu. Number two, click on General tab and then you choose Disk Cleanup. On the Disk Cleanup window that will appear, click or check on the files you want to be deleted, and then you confirm by clicking OK. If any prompt message is displayed concerning the issue of deletion, click on Yes. Scan disk. This is a utility that helps the user to check up the status of a disk, giving a report of any disk errors that may be found and rectifying any of them where possible. The following is the procedure that you can use to check or scan your storage media for errors. Number one, double-click on my computer icon or this PC icon. Secondly, right-click on the drive's icon, the drive of your interest, and click Properties from the shortcut menu. Then click on Tools tab and click the check button under Error Checking. You can then click on Scan Drive from the dialog displayed. From there, specify the type of test by clicking on either Standard, that checks files and folders for errors, or Thorough, that performs standard test and scans disk surfaces for errors, and the type of test if the specification window is displayed. To automatically rectify errors, click on Automatically Fix Errors. Then click on Start button for checking to begin and wait until a report is displayed, which tells you whether any errors have been found and rectified or not. Under Scan Disk Results window, click on Close and then close the Scan Disk window on its Close command. Maintenance Wizard. This is a utility program that helps maintain the computer to remain functioning properly. It is used for performing the work of disk cleanup, disk defragmentation, and scanning disk all at the same time. When you search for system maintenance from the search button on Taskbar, click on Perform Recommended Maintenance Tasks Automatically Wizard, after which a system maintenance wizard appears, in which you click on Next. Then select on the option to troubleshoot as an administrator and wait. You will then get a report on what has been done and instructions on any further actions that you may need to take. Backup. It enables the user to create copies of data and the programs on separate storage devices in order to avoid losing any important data and program files in case the storage device or the media or the computer fails. It is important to keep backup of data and programs away from the computer room in order to ensure security of the information in the case of uncertain calamity. Keep each copy in a different location. When using your computer to store sensitive data, it's very important to be backing up your data regularly by making 2 or 3 backups of all your files. You can backup files using the operating system commands, or you can buy a special purpose backup utility. Backup programs often compress the data so that backups require fewer disks. The following is the procedure of creating backups for your data. Number 1, click on search icon from the taskbar and type backup. Then click on backup settings option. From the backup settings window that will be displayed, make the necessary choices such as backing up using file history, more options, amongst others. Then follow the on-screen instructions to accomplish the operation based on the choices that you have made. In order to restore backed up data later on, in the main backup window, just the same window that you have used when you are doing the backup, click on the more options. Then from the backup options window, click on restore files from the current backup and follow the instructions on the screen. The backed up data will be restored. Scanning for viruses. Computer viruses get into disks through infected storage mediums or via electronic mail and the internet. If you have installed an antivirus program into the computer, you can check the various storage mediums as follows. 1. Right-click on the drive's icon. 2. From the context-sensitive menu that will be displayed, click on the antivirus program to use. And number 3, follow the instructions that will be displayed by the antivirus program in order to start scanning and wait for the scanning process to complete. Creating a recovery drive. This is a disk drive that is used to start up the computer in case the computer is seriously damaged and it cannot start Windows. It is also used to reset the PC or troubleshoot its problems. It can also be used to reinstall Windows if it's used to back up system files. The disk or this disk is inserted in its respective disk drive, and then the computer is switched on. The computer then reads the recovery drive and displays the necessary prompts for the user to act on during the booting or recovery process. These commands or prompts help the user to diagnose the problems that might have led to problems experienced. To create a recovery disk, follow the following procedure in some Windows, such as Windows 10. Number 1, type recovery drive at the search icon from the taskbar. Then click on Recovery Drive App. Number 3, click on Yes from the recovery dialog box that will be displayed. Number 4, check the checkbox for backup system files on recovery drive and click Next. Then wait and respond appropriately to the recovery drive prompts that will be displayed during the process. We have come to the end of part 2 of 2 for the topic on operating systems application. You can access part 1 of 2 for this topic and more other computer or ICT videos by clicking or tapping on MLSwap ICT below this video in YouTube. You can also subscribe to the channel by tapping on subscribe button displayed just below this video if it's not currently reading as subscribed. You can also visit and subscribe to MLSwap Life Skills YouTube channel for free life skills, motivational, and inspirational resources. If you have any further questions, comments, or recommendations, kindly feel free to write it to us through the email emilyswap@gmail.com. Thank you very much for listening to me and be blessed.